Good day, little kings and little queens and little everything in betweens. Today I thought I'd just do a bit of a chilled ep. I think it's one of those quite introverted times, but I figured it's nice to challenge yourself from that space to kind of show up in a way. I thought what I'd do is this episode being 15 ins and 1 out. Basically just tips of a few things that I do when it just feels like nobody could ever understand, it feels too daunting to speak up. I'm learning to be a little bit more open emotionally and to, challenge myself to speak up about things that I wouldn't dare say out loud. Like the journal gets them, but there's something I realize about being witnessed that is very, very healing. So basically, my first in is camping in solitude. So that's just like a guaranteed connection to self. Pretty self-explanatory. It's pure presence and introspection. I guess quite slow and mindful and a bit selfish to a degree, but I think it's just such a recharge. And the elements are, again, so bloody epic for the nervous system and resetting it. On a scientific level, it is just a full body recharge when you spend even a little bit of time. Water is also good to watch. It's just such a good analogy for just like moving through things. And I don't really like the expression healing isn't linear. I'm just like, fucking make up something else. Yeah, what's just tricky is just resistance to life and like impatience in a way. And I think so nice being out of Recipe and just being able to journal, read. I pumped through this fucking epic book on the weekend and it felt like I was kind of immersed in like a 2-day workshop. The Holistic Psychologist? She's written a few and they've all just been fucking like game changer. But this one is basically just about meeting versions of yourself in love. So lots of tips for that. And it's also very daunting. I feel like sometimes it's hard to read stuff that's like so incredibly confronting and forces you to take accountability. I'll write it in the description. This video is also sponsored by these beautiful pots. My second in is validating your own emotions. I find that sometimes I look at my like friendship groups and I think, oh fuck, I'd love to be validated in what I'm feeling, but I'm also too scared to open up. And I realize that that is just like hindering me so much. So I've been trying to like learn like a little child, just like meet myself in as many uncomfortable situations as I possibly can in love. And it's like, God, it's such a challenging and it's such an interesting kind of concept to grasp that with all light there is dark. Everything in life kind of has a positive and a negative. Your biggest quality can also end up being your like worst trait in a way. I'm trying to think of something that is like really good but really annoying about me. The fact that I care and feel things deeply, it's like it's so beautiful because it means that the level of love that I do get to feel is just like really powerful and strong. But then it means that I don't want to say the negative emotions, don't want to label them, but the emotions that come with more fear and more sensations of pain yeah, they are all basically just really fucking necessary in the big scheme of things. So sometimes I sit there and I just go, fuck, I wish I could be a simple cunt. But then I think about it a little bit more and I'm like, God, it would be very uninteresting to be living an uninspired life. I like that one as number 2. What was it again? Validating your own emotions, but also seeking help when the time is right as well. But it's just like we're our own biggest fucking inner compass. So it's good to just spend time absolutely looking at that head on and asking yourself the tough questions. Giddy up to that. Number 3 is starting conversations and asking better questions. I've been realizing personally that I actually, like, I'm not very scared to just like start conversations in general, but recently I've been noticing, I guess you'd label it as like social anxiety. So just like noticing myself, but it's like there's an air of shame behind it. So I think some therapists call it shameful awareness. I'm basically just like so hyper aware of everything that I'm doing. So that got me around to just being like, to rid myself of that, why don't I just like come to these conversations and these interactions with just better questions, even just different questions. And that's been cool. I feel like it opens up the space for just like better chat. I don't know if what that random fucking social anxiety thing is. Like, it's probably just, I'd say, confidence. I need to come into myself more. I'll just accept myself as I am. I mean, it can seem a little bit cringe to do this, but like often even just asking like highlight of your week, what's something that really put some pep in your step this week, or just like something that's going to make somebody feel something. I think that's just like one of the most beautiful things in life. No matter who it is, I feel like you can, yeah, challenge yourself, and that's such a win, and then also kind of put a little bit of sugar on somebody else's day. This is, I believe, number 4, feeling the feeling properly. Basically, like not wallowing in your emotions and like your pain body, which is easier said than done, but instead feeling it, wrapping it up in a little fucking knot, and then making little gradual changes to feel better. Just like chip away, chip away. I think some seasons are more just like it feels like you're pushing shit uphill, and some seasons it's like creative and just like fucking just super flowy, and sometimes it's just like not as comfortable. So that's something I be vibing. Number 5, cooking with love and kind of knowing where your food comes from, and trying to eradicate the big guys out of the picture as much as possible. My friend Fish kind of changed my mind with such a simple sentence, which is vote with your money. And I think it's really cool to just like, yeah, be kind of intentional about where your pennies go. And which brings me to the next tip, which is probably number 6, which is being frugal with money. And the coolest tip, which I learned on another poddy, just basically not being like a tight ass with your money, but having like one place where your big spending goes, whether it's travel or you really like bougie fucking hotels and dinners, or you got a whip that you want to go camping with, or you kind of choose where it is, or a saving one. You can kind of have your area of where your money is gonna go for, I guess, your pleasure. That's how I like to see it anyway. And my one is just my car. Pennies go there, and then the rest back into biz. Yeah, I think it's cool to just kind of have one thing like that, which is kind of in a way a bit of a motivator and a way to also know where your money is going. Because I think money is such a big one. Well, I don't want to call it abundance mindset, but that's what it is. It is, I guess, having a mindset around money that doesn't have the shackles of your past. Money's been a big one for me, big one for Mumsy, and probably way back. So it's cool to, in this lifetime, to take a little bit of a look at our relationship with pennies. I really like this tip, number 7, which is not knowing which way is up. When you don't fucking know which way is up, it just means that the only way is up. So it's basically, I feel like those times where it's like pure fucking resistance and like feeling so incredibly low, those are those times where it's like that resistance, that tightness, that full body just like heaviness is where the magic is born. I think not knowing which way is up is such a flex because there's just like more room. It's like, what am I letting go of to bring in something that's more aligned? Is it work? Is it experiences? Is it like my veggie garden? Is it just like, where is my energy going to go? Number 8, not pigeonholing yourself and just kind of pivoting in your life as much as you possibly can. Aurora, that singer, says some fucking epic stuff. She says in these videos that there's just like no laws to what you can and can't do in a way if you have that like internal fire and freedom. And basically she just says like, don't pigeonhole yourself to like being this thing. It's like you can literally just be whatever. She has this just like air of absolute I don't give a fuck energy, which I really like. Number 9 is another one that I've always really enjoyed playing with, which is being savvy. And I think it's really cool to just like in your life look at things and be like, what can I do on my own clock? Like, this is like highlighting the hyper independence thing that I'm trying to let go of. But I just think it's also productive energy as well as something that might hinder me too. But for the moment, it's Liddy. So being savvy, I think that's really cool, asking those questions and trading as much as you possibly can. So if there's a service that you think that you can provide, whether it's, you know, doing someone's shopping, mowing the lawn, photography, videography, babysitting, like whatever it may be that you can offer. Maybe you have a skill of some description, you're a masseuse, you're a hairdresser, you enjoy giving neck massages, whatever it is, you can go towards businesses that are in line and offer a trade. And I find that is just so handy when you're trying to live a life with less outward consumption. I find that it's so sick. For me, I'm able to trade for yoga, trade for acupuncture, sometimes trade for hair, which is pretty epic. But my hairdresser's that lit that I don't actually have to go to the hairdresser much. So it's like a blessing and a curse to be a really good hairdresser, isn't it? Nicole, you queen. Another one that I like, which is number 10, it is going back to nature again, but going back to the elements as being a part of us. And I find that going back to nature, it's so sick to see them like that and see fire as just like burning things down, letting go, and water is like, all right, I'm moving through these emotions, just like that water is. It's flowing. And the air, I like to see that as like creation and power. And then there's earth, which is grounding and just like feeling energy. Nature is also lit, I'll say again, because it's basically recharging your cells. We shoot out this electromagnetic field and there's fucking layers to it. It's literally not just like the close energy to us. And if we're not living in line with ourselves, we'll say, that field can become a little bit tainted. It's pretty crazy that. So I find that going out into nature, putting the feet in the earth and just being like, yeah, girl, thanks for the healing. And I get it. Mother Nature. In those times, honestly, where I'm at my lowest, you can catch me out at a fucking rock pool because she's always got me. And gonna sound a bit woo-woo, but when I kind of lose all, I never lose faith, but I sometimes lose hope in the process. I always come back to my breath and I ask for signs, and I do sometimes ask my ancestors and past people for help. I just don't know which way to go. And a lot of the time, it'll be a little grasshopper. Or the other day, I was out at a rock pool. 200 meters away, there's a big iguana. And I just think, this gonna sound so fucking woo-woo. But I think, why can't nature be a teacher? Like, I understand Harry Potter and the Parcel Tongue now, you know? Because I do. I really feel like nature speaks, and it works for me to think like that. I feel like I see them as positive omens. Like the other day, asking for a sign, a little rabbit on the beach, and I was like, you know, little things like that. And if anything, those little signs, I feel like they reinstill hope. So I feel I could be doing worse things than saying thank you to the animals. So yeah, that's another in for me. Number 11, which is one that I'm getting more familiar with, is changing your mind. I realize that I try so hard to be like a safe person and to be somebody who's aware and like present and all that jazz. And I try and live in line with being a person that is like consistent in the way they show up. And sometimes it means that there's not much room for me to change my mind and to, I guess, in a way, disappoint people, but for an extended amount of time while I take space to just be alone. I find that that is when I have so much trouble communicating. I really like this one. Number 12 is noticing chemistry. I find this one to be so cool, and one that I don't know why it took me so long to like really like see it, feel it, quantify it, and like understand it properly. But I've really been enjoying the process of feeling chemistry with someone and not acting on it. It's just really nice to notice like the chemicals that kind of flood your brain when you're noticing that full attraction. Another one I really like is not being available. So I think it's one that we all need to like let go of a little bit, potentially, is feeling like you have to be available for people just in case there's an emergency, or just in case there's this for work, or just in case this, my girlfriend's anxious, or whatever it is, I need to text her. It's like, I think being able to move away from that is a really beneficial thing in life. Firstly, have the weight, the energetic weight of fucking having a phone on you at all times. And it's just so nice to like travel light, travel free. But yeah, they're my ins. And my biggest out is being hard on yourself. So life is fucking hard. It is fucking tricky to navigate life and health and relationships and the way you show up and energy levels. And Is it this career path that I want to do? And what's my purpose? And I still want to play. And we're all struggling. And I think sometimes it's really good to notice that even the people that feel most confident or seem like they have it all together, or they're so consistent, or they're getting a lot of work, or they're traveling heaps, they're always on the road. Like, everyone is just like fucking just trudging. And then there's like peaks, and then there's troughs, and then there's consistent times. It's just like, it is so freaking important to just like edge towards seeing life in that way, because otherwise it'll be a life filled with resistance and just like friction. So I think that's going to be my biggest tip, is just, yeah, meeting yourself in love as much as you possibly can. And like, I think that term, it feels like kind of hard to reflect on. What is meeting myself in love? What is love? Is it a sensation? Is it a thought? Is it a memory? Is it a color? Like, how does it feel? And for me, love is just like relatability and nurture. And I think it's really cool to just like come back to myself with relatability and nurture. And yeah, just consistently bringing everything back to self. Not in a selfish way, but being like, if I'm better for me, I can be better for y'all. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Oh yeah, there would be no yin without yang, nor light without dark. And what about love? Would that go unnoticed if hate went around? Balance is everything. We need the trust to recognize the peaks, the rejection to recognize the beauty and redirection. It's true. You got to feel all ends of the spectrum of emotions, because otherwise it'll just keep coming up and saying yo and yo and yo, and then you'll just feel like you're a 6-year-old kid trapped inside a 30-year-old body. So yeah, another really cool tip, which I'll leave you with, is I love doing this every couple of months when I'm really just like in the thick of it, writing out my outdated narratives or beliefs. Just like anything just comes to mind, just going bang, I'm going to smack it down. And no matter how stupid it feels, it's really quite cool to just like notice what comes up and just being like, oh, if somebody read this, I would have to sprint away. But then also just realizing that it doesn't even matter, and just like letting it rip and validating that that's there, and I'm really keen to let go of it. Thank you so much for listening and for supporting. And if there's anything you want to hear about, let me know. Big love.